Hi, this is Dave Osh, the creator of Algo Middle Management. We are continuing now to part 2 of module 4, Dialogue. In the last video, we focused on presentations given to small or large groups. In this video, we will focus more on one-on-one or group discussions. I congratulate you on getting so far into the program. I commend you for implementing the strategies and putting into practice what you're learning in your own unique way and style. The videos of this module are the longest in the course because your success depends on your ability to drive persuasive dialogue and become an influencer. We will continue to expand our dialogue competencies even in the next modules because decision and action depend on your ability to communicate effectively. If you feel overwhelmed with so much to learn in such a short time, print out the slides so you can have a snapshot of the module. This video will do more than just help you in business. The lessons here will also serve your relationship with your significant other, your kids, and your friends as much as your relationship with your colleagues, your boss, or your team. So let's dive right away into the fifth dialogue strategy, influence. What is the difference between influence and persuasion? Persuasion spurs someone to action because of what you said and how you said it. Influence spurs someone to action even when you are not saying anything, just because people trust and respect your character, behavior, and values. A salesperson can persuade you to buy a car with a good pitch, but cannot persuade you to change your life. Influence is at a deeper level and as such requires dedication of your time and effort to win people's hearts so that you can inspire them to make significant long-term changes. While persuasion might be eventual or contextual, influence is a very strategic process. If you're not influential, you probably have not figured out that influence is not a one-time effort in a meeting or a sales presentation. That's persuasion. Influence is a strategic, consistent, broad, and continuous effort. Influence is a lifestyle. It requires strategic thought. Start thinking of yourself as an influencer in every interaction with peers and family members. Your ability to influence depends on your character and behavior that you have been working on since the first module. The next step is to be strategically thoughtful about what are you going to influence? How are you going to influence? How are you going to relate to the people you're trying to influence? The first influence strategy is awareness. If you want to influence people, you have to discover what is important to the people you're trying to influence. Influencing from their point of view is more likely to succeed than influencing from your point of view. The second thing you have to be aware of is what they're going through in life right now. I once tried to influence a team member in order to improve performance, but a few conversations didn't make any difference until I asked a simple question. What are you going through in life right now? She started crying and revealed that her husband was having an affair, a family was falling apart, they were separating, and she was filing for a divorce. Many of our peers are going through hell and we are not aware of it. We try to influence them about something while they're consumed by a life crisis. Once I was aware that she was experiencing turmoil in her life, I handled her performance with much more patience. Another team member was not performing well while she was diagnosed with breast cancer and didn't want to tell anyone. The bottom line is that you must be aware of what is important and how life is going for the people you want to influence. Once you know the reality, you'll be more influential because you can frame what you're saying to their situation. The second influence strategy is presence. If you want to influence, you have to give undivided attention and be right there at the moment, fully attentive with your body and mind. We are often so distracted that our thoughts wander somewhere else, even while we're talking to other people. How many times did you have dinner with your family after an intensive long day at work and your mind was still busy with the latest crisis at work or with the email that you received just when you sat down at the table? You missed everything your spouse and children were telling you. You cannot fake presence. Subconsciously, people will feel it when you are not with them. You cannot influence when you are not fully present. Every dialogue requires your full presence because every dialogue is an influential opportunity. The third influence strategy is adding value to the people you are attempting to influence. If you are not adding value, you cannot influence. People stop listening to you once you decide that you are wasting their time. Your value must be significant and distinct. If you repeat some nonsense you heard from your boss, you lose your chance to influence. What can you do so that people will feel you're adding value? First, help them to gain knowledge and new skills. Coaching new competencies will improve your level of influence. Second, help them to achieve more alignment in their lives. People who don't have control of their lives are not open to influence. Alignment of various aspects of life contributes to the feeling of control and opens them up to be influenced. Third, help them learn how to think about their lives, about connecting to other people, and about what they should focus on. You can change people's lives by changing what they are thinking and how they are thinking. For example, you can teach them how to think more positively. You can teach them how to think more strategically. People will not remember what you tell them to do, but they will remember what you tell them to think about. Fourth, challenge them to achieve excellence. The most influential people in my life are not the people that tell me how great I am, but are those who push me to do more, to have more, and to become more. Surprisingly, the most influential people in your life are not those with whom you have fun, but more hardship. You will be most influenced by people who will tell you, you're better than this. You can do better than this. Be that person to other people. Challenge them and they will be influenced by you. The fourth influence strategy is to be a role model. You cannot influence others without role modeling the way. Trust and respect are prerequisites to being an influencer, and these attributes come from consistent demonstration of integrity. Consistency is the key because once you have role model behavior for 1 year and you fail even one time to demonstrate it, you go back to square one. You have to start all over again. You lose your integrity and your ability to influence in one event of inconsistency. Consistency is the key. The sixth dialogue strategy is assertiveness. Assertiveness is the most crucial skill to become an effective communicator and gain more control of your life. You can easily lose control if you always respond to the needs of others rather than initiating actions that meet your own needs. In order to become an assertive communicator, you have to define your own needs. Being assertive means knowing what you want, clarifying it clearly to others, and getting what you want while showing respect for others. Non-assertive behavior means not expressing your needs and thus failing to meet your needs. Non-assertive people tend to avoid confrontation. They react and respond rather than initiate and act on their own. The surprising fact is that non-assertive people tend to become aggressive because they are subordinating their needs to others until one day they become very resentful, angry, and just explode. Non-assertiveness leads to aggressiveness. An aggressive behavior can temporarily get you what you want, but it will be at the expense of others. Aggressiveness cannot fulfill your needs for the long term. One type of aggressiveness is passive aggressive, which means getting what you want through manipulating others, deceiving them, or silently resisting them. The first assertiveness strategy is self-disclosure. It means expressing your feelings, needs, and ideas honestly and directly while you stand up for your rights without violating the rights and needs of others. Self-disclosure is the foundation of authenticity, which is an important leadership value. Authentic people are open, direct, and congruent. They act on their own behalf, initiate actions to meet their needs, and ask for assistance from others when they need it. Self-disclosure helps you to connect to yourself as much as it helps you to connect to others. It also helps you to live in the present moment when you are expressing your ideas and thoughts aloud. When other people know exactly what you want, you will get more cooperation from others and accomplish what you want. It is a common mistake to assume that people who know you well know what you want or what you feel. That's a wrong assumption. People cannot read your mind. Self-disclosure improves your self-esteem and makes you a more interesting person. People reciprocate self-disclosure with self-disclosure, and this is how you build stronger relationships. Why are so many people afraid of self-disclosure? Mainly because self-disclosure can often lead to disagreements and conflicts. The second assertiveness strategy is I messages, and it will help you to disclose yourself. An I message is a statement that expresses your feelings, experience, and reality in an authentic, honest, and direct way without judgments, evaluations, and interruptions. I messages prevent confusions about what you want, and they drive respect, acceptance, and a cooperation from others. There are four types of I messages, from the most easy to the most difficult. The first type is declarative I messages. Declarative I messages express your beliefs, ideas, likes, dislikes, feelings, attitudes, values, and intentions. They describe your inner reality. They enable others to know you and better relate to you. For example, well, I appreciate your help. I dislike writing proposals. I prefer to discuss it over the phone rather than with an email. I like the way our team meeting went today. Declarative I messages rarely cause others to resist or react defensively because they simply reflect your perceptions. The second type is responsive I messages. Responsive I message is a yes or no reply that contains two parts. First, your self-disclosing message, and second, how the request will affect you. If you respond yes to a request, it is still important to explain the positive effect. Sure, I will join your meeting tomorrow night. It will give me a chance to better understand your project. Always explain why you are taking a yes or no stand so that other people will feel that you are assertive and you have chosen to respond that way. The third type is preventive I messages. Preventive I messages prevent conflicts and misunderstandings because you inform others in advance about your wants and needs so that they will not be surprised later and make the required preparations so they may not be affected. Preventive I message also consists of two parts. First, self-disclosure of your need, and second, the reasons for the need. For example, I would like to know what we are going to discuss in our meeting tomorrow so I can bring the necessary information with me. The fourth type of I messages is confrontive iMessages. Confrontive iMessages confront the other person with your negative feelings about how his or her behavior affects you. You use this type of messages when your needs have already been interrupted. Confrontive iMessages consist of three elements. First, your feelings. Second, which behavior causes the problem. Third, how the behavior is affecting you. For example, I'm really angry that I was not consulted about the price increase because it affects the other product lines. I get frustrated when you don't tell me when you will be gone because I cannot schedule the staff meetings. Confrontive iMessages are the strongest messages, but at the same time are valuable in expressing negative feelings. iMessages should completely replace you messages. You messages come across, it's your fault, even when that is not your intention. If you count the number of you messages versus the number of iMessages, I am sure you count more you than iMessages because they are easy and impulsive. The more you replace you with iMessages, the more effective a communicator you will become. The next assertiveness strategy is active listening. When your iMessages receive resistance, you need to shift gears from disclosing to listening. It is important to show a genuine desire to understand the needs of the other person. Listening by itself is sufficient to lower resistance, but active listening is much more powerful. Active listening is a restatement of the other's total communication, the summary of the message and the feelings. You put yourself in his or her shoes and share your understanding to check for accuracy. You may say, "This is my understanding of what you are experiencing or feeling. Is that correct?" When others feel they have been heard, they are more likely to listen to your opinion or need. Active listening may not come naturally and even feel difficult at first. However, when you accept that other people feel, even when you do not agree with them, active listening will become second nature. Your success in getting others to hear you and act upon your requests depends not only on your ability to express yourself, but also on your ability to actively listen to others. The next assertiveness strategy reminds me of one of my favorite movies, Yes Man with Jim Carrey. The movie's great idea is that wonderful things can happen in your life when you say yes to everything. But in the real world, being assertive means that sometimes you have to learn how to say no. The more you know what you want in life, the more you will become aware of how much time and effort you spend on activities that are not congruent with what you want. When somebody is asking you to do something you would rather not do, you want to say no, but because of pressure and anxiety that people won't like you, you hear yourself saying yes, even when you would rather say no. The way to say no is with a responsive iMessage, as explained earlier. It has two parts. First, disclosing your response, and second, the effect it has on you. The first part is to decline the request directly, such as, "No, I don't want to. I have decided not to. I am choosing not to." It is crucial to ensure that it is your choice and your decision. Don't say, "I cannot, I won't be able to, I'm too busy right now." These statements show that you don't have control and that you're affected by external forces, rather than by your own decision. The second part is why you choose to say no, so that you won't sound rude. It also helps you to affirm your own decision. Many people will respect you more for being honest with them. They will appreciate your courage to say no and trust them to cope with no. The fifth and last assertiveness strategy is problem ownership. In many dialogues, we either take ownership of problems that we don't own, or we don't take ownership of problems we do own. Sometimes both people own the problem. Asking yourself, is this my problem? Can make a whole difference in your mindset. Once you decide it is not your problem, you can detach yourself emotionally from the situation. But if it is your problem, you can take accountability. Problem owning is the perfect time to move on to the seventh dialogue strategy, interactions. We participate in two types of interactions, one-on-one or group dialogues. Surprisingly, they have similar patterns except for one difference. In a group dialogue, there is a group dynamic that can easily derail you if you are off guard. All the persuasion strategies that we have discussed in the previous video can be used in individual and group interactions. For example, to overcome derailing group dialogues, use commonality as the major strategy to bond them together with you. In the context of interactions, there are 5 steps you can use in group or one-on-one interaction. The first step is to connect. This step initially seems very peculiar. Why do I need to connect with people I work with? Well, if you get down to business without connecting first, you're assuming that you're already connected, right? But you might be wrong, and they might be disconnected, disengaged. This step reestablishes trust, creates curiosity, and refocuses their attention. The first step of connecting helps also in relationships with your loved ones. I always reconnect with my wife after a business trip and every day after coming home from the office. I should not expect automatic connection just because we are married. The same is true in the workplace. I should not expect automatic connection because I have called a meeting or I am the boss. Effective connection means that you genuinely show interest in their world and compassion for what they are going through in their careers and lives. They will connect if they feel that you really care and are fully present. The second step is to praise the group or the individual because it shifts your mind to effective influential mode. Your persuasion fails before you even start if you tell yourself before a meeting, oh, I need to get these idiots to do something. If you think the others are wrong or inferior, you have already lost the chance to persuade them. Always start every dialogue from the point of honoring the other person so he or she will listen. The other person will not listen if you have preconceived notions or if you have already made up your mind. You can say all the right things, but still not come across the way you want because you don't really care. You have to care and honor so that they will listen. Never start a conversation talking about yourself. Ask about them, such as, well, I know there's a lot going on and you're trying to get through this, or I honor you for your performance last month. In one-on-one dialogues, you have the chance to give more effective praise because you can customize it to the individual. The most effective praise is specific and covers the past, present, and future. When you praise past, present, and future, your praise is not situational and will be received with much higher appreciation. While you should refrain from saying always in confrontations, you can say it a lot when you're praising. For example, present. Your customer analysis always exposes new insights. Past. Since you started submitting your monthly reports, you have dramatically improved them. Future. I am sure that your upcoming reports will have even more new features. Isn't this praise more effective than meaningless situational praise like, awesome or cool, you achieve so many things in one shot. You uplift and motivate the person, you acknowledge strength, you express love and care. Appreciation and acknowledgement are the highest reward. Use them consistently and frequently. The third step is make it safe. There are three techniques to make it safe. First, be generous with your time, with your appreciation, and with your patience. Second, don't rush. Slow down your thinking and slow down their thinking. Be thoughtful. When you rush to make a decision, they will step back. Give yourself enough time to form your thoughts, and they will have enough time to form their thoughts. Third, use guiding questions instead of declarative statements. Guiding questions enables your team members to reach conclusions independently without feeling as if they have been pushed. The fourth step is check for understanding. The ultimate goal of a dialogue is to make a person believe and commit. But what if they believe and commit to something different from your proposal that you are not aware of? Every communication is coded by the sender and decoded by the listener. You want to be absolutely sure that they understand, therefore ask them to repeat your proposal in their own words. It is actually the reverse of active listening. Here you are demanding active listening from your dialogue partners. In a group discussion, ask personally, one by one, for understanding. When everybody understands their proposal or the request, you're ready for the fifth step. Check for commitment. The prerequisite condition for commitments is to ensure that all opinions are brought to one pool of opinions during the conversation. If there are some objections, deal with them before you ask for commitment. Ask for commitment personally from each participant. The eighth dialogue strategy is conflict resolution. In the foundation videos, I use the term confrontation because you can avoid conflict if you confront early enough. However, we tend to avoid conflicts because they can become a power game with every side wanting to win over the other. Power doesn't resolve conflict. It only deepens the conflict. Once you learn to resolve conflict with win-win, you will see conflict in an entirely new way. Conflict can be a healthy and powerful force to achieve congruence in your life through communication. Conflicts help you to expand and develop. In fact, disagreements are far more helpful than agreements because they stimulate healthy change and growth in relationships. The traditional conflict resolution method consists of 6 steps. Define the problem, generate optional solutions, evaluate solutions, deciding on a mutually acceptable solution, acting on the solution, and follow up on the results. I suggest a far more effective conflict resolution method. Rather than starting the conversation with the problem, start a conversation with improving the relationship. Start with a mutual belief. For example, I like to talk about something that affects our relationship. You are frustrated. I am frustrated. I know you care about our relationship as much as I do. Once you begin the dialogue with the relationship, you are already tuned toward win-win conflict resolution rather than a power game because ultimately you both want to maintain the relationship. There are 4 strategies that you can use to resolve conflicts. The first and most important strategy is to find the underlying issue. The content of the conflict is usually not the real deal breaker. In every conflict, there is the obvious issue, and there is an underlying issue that you have to discover. What is it that your counterpart really wants? What is it that he or she is not expressing openly? In most conflicts, it is not what you think when the conflict erupts. The root cause is usually unrelated to the content. Once you turn on your radar to discover the underlying issue, you can use the second strategy to identify the underlying issue. The second strategy is to identify collision with their identity. The root cause of conflicts is usually something that contradicts their other person's identity. More precisely, what they think they are and what they believe they could be. People in their own minds see themselves as good, smart, hardworking, and ambitious. If you threaten their beliefs because you reflected about a failure, you are contradicting their self-defined identity. When somebody is mad about something, they most likely feel that you have threatened their identity as a good, smart, and respectful person. They are going to fight back. To resolve this collision, as emotionally difficult as it can be, you have to acknowledge and appreciate your counterpart's identity that will serve in improving the relationship. You can say, look, I know that you really work very hard. I just have a challenge with A, B, C. They cannot hear you if they feel that you don't respect them. If you couldn't find any possible identity collision, another underlying issue might be fear. Ask yourself what they're most likely scared of. In the business world, most conflict resolutions resolve once you identify the underlying issue, which is usually related to identity or fear. This is a powerful strategy to resolve conflict at home too. Fights with your significant other always have underlying issues of identity or fear. Find the underlying issue and you will quickly resolve the conflict. You can say all the right things but still fail to resolve a conflict because your tone of voice. Your tone of voice is critical in conflict resolution. If you come across as angry, nothing that you say really matters anymore. If your voice sounds condescending, you cannot achieve anything in a conversation. The most difficult conflict resolution is value collision. Throughout my career, I have faced a few value collisions. There are three ways to resolve value collision. The first way is to change your own values. It sounds impossible, but might work for you if your ego doesn't take over and you're able to carefully assess the other person's value. I was affected tremendously by other people's values that I was initially mad about, but eventually I changed my values and felt great about it. Significant value change for me was adopting vegetarianism when juicy steaks topped my favorite food list. Believe it or not, it was a value collision at home because my wife and my daughter are vegetarians. And it was a value collision at work too, because the founders of the company I worked for defined vegetarianism as a corporate core value. I have other examples, but the point is, keep your mind open to values modification rather than automatically stick to old values. The second way to resolve value collision is to try influencing other people's values. I have changed my values so other people may change their values too, right? Well, wishful thinking. Influencing other people to modify their values really doesn't work. You can model your way, but don't expect people to follow. The third way is the most appropriate way to deal with value collision. Learn to live with the differences as long as they don't affect behaviors that are on the account of your needs. The last conflict resolution strategy is to moderate other people's conflicts. The more you demonstrate your conflict resolution skills at work, the more you will be approached by colleagues to moderate conflict resolutions, or you can offer yourself as a moderator. It is much easier than participating in a conflict because you are not emotionally involved. As a conflict moderator, you are not a mediator. You facilitate the process without being involved in the resolution. You just ensure that all participants follow the process. You ask the sides to respect the rules of confrontation, and you direct the sides throughout the same process of acknowledging the relationship and identifying the underlying issue of identity or fear. So let's wrap up the dialogue module by mentioning the 8 strategies of delivery, design, persuasion, positioning, influence, assertiveness, interactions, and conflict resolution. And I hope it serves you in accelerating your career and, more importantly, improving your relationships at work and at home. If you have any questions or comments, please submit them below. And I will see you next week in the next module about decision making. And until then, every single day, believe in your purpose, conceive your accomplishments, achieve your highest potential, and live a meaningful, fulfilling, abundant, and love-filled life.